So first of all, I'm really happy to be back. It's been a while, but I'm very happy and full of energy. And the classes, even if they didn't happen, I'm always, every time I hear or I look somewhere, I'm always like, oh, I have to share this. I have to share this during the class. So who had time to watch the video? Okay, Marie, what can you tell us about the video?
On a appris au début les deux âmes, comment ça fonctionne, comment l'âme humaine, l'âme animale et l'âme divine fonctionnent pas fonctionnent ensemble, mais l'une contre l'autre d'une certaine manière.
C'est que le tzaddik que ça. Ouais.
Mais c'est aussi notre choix, parce qu'avec le dessin, l'image, c'est nous qui choisissons dans quelle porte on va aller.
Ouais. Ben, c'est l'âme animale qui nous tire vers la porte ou c'est ça.
Et l'autre âme nous tire vers l'autre porte.
C'est ça.
Donc, mais c'est nous qui choisissons.
Alors,
ça dépend si on est le chevalier qui dirige le cheval, ou bien c'est le cheval qui nous dirige.
Alors, dans la vidéo, in the video, it showed the tzaddik who's riding the horse. Okay, there's the neshama, the godly soul, and the animal soul is a horse. Okay, that's how they pictured it. For tzaddik, it's his godly soul is holding the horse, and the horse is full of light. He transformed his animal soul completely. It's all light, and he's constantly serving God. Those are very rare people, and it's a gift, and this is not us. This is not us regular people.
They're born like that.
They're born like that. Then there is, they're born, maybe they did a little work to get to where they, no one's born perfect, so maybe they had to work a little bit to finally transform their animal soul.
Tzaddik becomes tzaddik?
Yeah, but he becomes tzaddik, but when he's born with that potential that not everybody's born with. Then there's the Rasha, where you see it's the horse dragging the neshama. So he just goes where he wants. The animal soul drags the neshama has no say in it. And then there's the Benoni, and you see the Benoni is struggling. He's going on the horse, and the horse wants to go there, and he's constantly struggling where he doesn't ride the horse as well as the tzaddik. He's not full. The horse is still animal, and there's a struggle where it wants to be pulled. One pulls that side, and then the horse pulls that side, so they're constantly fighting. That's a struggle. So that's the Benoni. That is the level where everyone could reach. And that's where we want to reach, to be able to ride our horse and to direct it. And still feel the struggle, because the horse is always going to pull us. So when I saw this video, I wanted to share with you, because it's such a clear explanation of the first few chapters, 1 to 18, that explains the human soul, the way the humans are created, the struggle is normal, is healthy. We are created like that. God wants us to have a struggle. And the question is, are we able to ride the horse, to direct the horse, or are we pulled? So some days the horse pulls us, and some days we ride it. But as long as we know that we are capable of riding our horse and being in control, that's amazing. Like you were saying, the whole week I'm super disciplined, and then the weekend the horse pulls you. That's life, and that's normal, and that's okay. It's part of, and so that's chapter 1 to 18, okay? 1 to 18 explores the inner chemistry, how our soul works. It explains that both souls have the 10 sefirot, with the 3 intellectual sefirot, chachma, bina, dat, and then the 10 emotions, okay? So in your brain you have 3, how do we call sefirot in English? 3, the 10 eminence, I think they're called, I'm not sure. So the 3 of them are cognitive, and then the 7 of them are emotions, and we're going to learn about it this chapter, why, so it's important to remember that. And then we understand that one is animal, one is going to pull you towards animal instincts, and one is godly, okay? Most of us, the godly soul, we don't feel it right away. So we have to work. The animal soul, we feel it. It's in our blood.
Natural.
It's natural. It's part of our, But the godly soul, we don't always feel. And that's where we have to do the work. That's where avodah comes. That's where we have to do the work in order to feel. And yes, it's going sometimes to pull you. You're going to have this awakening and this breakthrough that you need to reconnect. And that's why, sometimes, all the time, my husband gets calls. Like, suddenly people call that we're living here for years, but they feel that they need to reconnect to God. That's their godly soul that moved something inside of them that made them want to call a rabbi and want to reconnect. Chapter 18 to 25 explores the foundation of Jewish faith. In this chapter, it says that a Jew, even if he's not observant, when he's challenged to give up his God and his Torah and his Judaism, he will give up his soul instead. That is called Mesirat Nefesh. It's within every Jew. This is a faith that is passed from generation to generation that we cannot get rid of. It's within us, and sometimes it's hidden, so it won't be expressed. But the minute a Jew is challenged, and there's so many stories of people who were not observant, nothing, and when they were given that opportunity to convert to Christianity and give up their faith, suddenly they're like, no way, I'm not giving that up. Why? What is that? This is a faith that's born, that's inside of our soul that we cannot get rid of.
So the mother passed it to
the mother passed it from generation to generation.
Amen.
Chapter 26 to 34 speaks about joy, but it doesn't talk about joy. It talks about sadness. Why? Something very interesting. Hi, Dana. Something very interesting I heard. Did Yael? Oh, hi, Yael. I don't know who just joined, but hi, both of you. Something very interesting I heard was that it's impossible to say we don't have sadness inside of us. The soul, when it's born, it's sad. It's traumatized from leaving such a high place in heaven and being forced to come, because it doesn't want to leave. It wants to stay up there. Coming into this lowly world, this world of pain, this world of darkness, it's sad. So sadness we all have. It's expressed in different ways. It's expressed through anxiety, through addictions, through sleepless nights, through whatever. Everyone has different ways that it's bad habits, exactly. But that sadness is within us. And the Alter Rebbe gives us 26 to 34, these chapters, to explain to us that the only way to serve God is with joy. In order to serve God with joy, you need to face that sadness. You need to take care of it. You can't ignore it. But it gives us different ways of how to deal with it, of how to deal with your sadness and how to transform it, that it will lead you to real joy. People who experience real joy experience sadness before, because that's the only way to experience true joy, is if you face your sadness and you don't ignore it. Someone who ignores and says, no, I'm not sad, I'm happy, then they're being ignorant. They're avoiding a truth that's within them. So I thought that was interesting. So chapter 26 to 34 gives us different tools of how to deal with our sadness and how to get to joy. There's it also talks about a kind of sadness that you have no feelings. You're not crying, you're not sad, but you have no feelings. That's also a kind of sadness, and how that's very dangerous. That can lead you to doing really bad things in your life, disconnecting from God, and how to get rid of it, okay? Finally, we get to 35. Finally, when we understand how to deal with our sadness, we understand how to experience real joy. 35 to 40 teaches us the purpose of the universe. What is the reason God created this world? Who knows? What is the reason God created this world? C'est quoi la raison? To make this world, this lowly world, a dwelling place for God. God wants to be in your everyday little details. He's not interested in staying. He's up there anyways. But he wants to be in this world, in our little chit chats, in your little run of the day, in your work, in your everything, every details that you do. He wants to be part of this world. How do you bring God in every details of your life? How do you do that? through Torah and mitzvah, through taking physical things and doing them. When you work and you put a lot of energy in your work, you think, you use your physical body, you use your computer, all those things. When you take that money you made and you give it to tzedakah, to charity, to kindness, to good purpose, you just elevated all that energy you used. You just elevated all the things you used to work, all that mind energy, that physical energy you used for work, you just elevated it. So in these chapters, it says that tzedakah is the one that's the highest of all. That's the one that brings Geula closest. Why? Because you use so much energy to make money that when you take that money and you give it, you elevate everything that was included in working that money. So that's one example. There's many other examples, but the idea is the whole purpose of the universe, the whole purpose of creation is to be able to bring God in every single little physical detail of this world, which I think is beautiful when you're aware of that.
It saves you from death also, tzedakah, no?
Tzedakah saves you from death, yeah.
Et c'est aussi tzedakah rapproche la Géoula.
Okay.
And finally, chapter 41 to 51, okay? Chapter 41 starts to talk about the emotions. We go back to the emotions. Okay, we spoke in the beginning about the emotions but it was quickly. But now, chapter 41 tells us the importance of fear. Okay, let's try to remember, what is fear? Who can tell us what is fear?
Plus dans la crainte, respect que dans la peur.
So there's the fear of punishment, fear of getting, punished, but that is not healthy fear. This is a very childlike fear. And that's not the right fear that the Alter Rebbe talks about over here. He talks about a fear that is connected with love. A fear that you're so afraid of being disconnected from God that you don't want to that you want to do everything that He asks because you're so afraid of being disconnected. That's a fear that's not natural, that you have to work on, okay? To learn, exactly. Love is very good. It's very important in a relationship. But what people forget a lot, most of the time, is fear. In every healthy relationship, okay, the ideal relationship is the relationship of a person towards God. From that relationship, you can apply it to us. So yes, so most people are going to talk about love in a relationship, but love doesn't keep two people together. What will keep two people together is fear.
Fear in the sense of not to disappoint.
Fear. So there's two kinds of fear.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is where I want to talk to you about two kinds of fear. There's three kinds of fear. There's the first fear of you're so afraid of being punished or being caught, right?
Yeah.
This is a very childlike fear, basic fear. This is not the fear that we're talking. There's two other fears that are healthy, but the one of them is even greater than the other. The first one is the fear that makes you feel so small next to someone. You don't want to take space. You're surrendered. You're totally bitul. You're totally humble towards that other person. So wait, listen. First, I'm going to explain. There's a story that I heard this morning of a person, Rabbi Freeman. He's a big Tanya teacher. And he said he once met a person, this man, who said, I was only afraid once in my life. Never in my life I was afraid. And this person was a big gangster, did very dangerous things. Since he was a child, he was put into foster homes. So he had many reasons for being afraid. What was the only time he was afraid of? He was given the job once to drive Golda Meir. It's funny, when I heard this story, I thought about you, Dana. He was given the job of driving Golda Meir to an event. So he was a chauffeur in New York, and he was given that job. And he said the whole time he was driving, he was sweating, and he was driving so slow and stopped by every stop because he realized who he had in his car. That was the only time he was afraid, when he drove Golda Meir in his car. He's a Jewish man.
He was a Jewish.
A gangster.
Well, there's sorry to break it to you. There are many gangsters that are Jewish. Look,
Yeah.
it's the animal soul and the godly soul. It says the bigger the godly soul is, the bigger the animal soul is. So someone with a really big animal soul who does really bad thing has a very big potential.
Wow.
Yes, oh yeah,
That's
always,
nice to see that.
always.
Things like
Ça
that.
doit être des forcés bon.
Mais l'idée d'être intimidé par une autre personne, pour moi, c'est contradictoire avec la Torah dans le sens où il n'y a que Hachem.
So cette intimidation, c'est towards Hashem. So another story I want to tell you, another story, the Alter Rebbe, when he was in prison, he had an interview with very high officials, okay, the czars, very high officials. He was one time in prison, and this big important person came in, and as soon as he came in, he closed his eyes and he was, praying, and after a few minutes he got up, and the man asked him, he said, I know how you respect your country and the people. I'm so surprised. Why didn't you stand up when I walked in? You're supposed to give me honor. So these people were people who learned the Torah. So he told him, do you know the story of Yaakov when he met his son Yosef for the first time after 22 years? Okay, for 22 years Yaakov was separated from his son. Imagine the emotion he must have felt the first time he sees him after 22 years. What did he do? Yosef embraced him, but he did not embrace his son. Why?
Wow.
He was busy saying Shema. Why? When he saw his son, the emotions he felt were so great that he decided to give those emotions to God. They were so great. He gave it to God, and only after he gave it to God was he truly able to embrace his son. So he told him that.
So should we learn from that when we have that big emotions, we should say Shema Israel?
Why not, if you're at that level? So the Alter Rebbe was saying that when you walked in, I had such a big emotion of awe, intimidation, because I realized the importance of the person who came in, that instead of giving it to you right away, I gave it to God. And only after that, I stood up for you, truly out of respect. And the czar heard this, not the czar, but this high official heard this and was so blown away by the Alter Rebbe that he realized this is a really important person. And he felt humbled by that. So this is where, yes, those emotions should be, but sometimes there are people that can also give over those emotions where you feel intimidated and in awe. So that's the first level of fear. The first level of fear is where you feel small, where you don't want to take space, but in a way it disconnects you from God because you're pulling yourself away. So this is a second fear that we should work on. This chapter talks about is the fear out of love. It's that you're so afraid of losing or separating yourself from God that you will do everything in order to stay close. A child, when they're dropped off into school, why are they crying when their parents leave? They love them so much. It's fear of anxiety separation, right? Anxiety separation. So that's a fear. That's a fear that we should feel every day when we're about to do something that will separate us from God. If we realize that God is in every detail of our life, and that any actions we do can separate us, we have to realize that we are able. Can you imagine God gave us the capability of separating himself from him when he's the creator? He gave us the capability. In a way, it's I don't know if it's twisted. I should say he gave us the capability of being connected, but he also gave us the capability of
freedom of choice.
He gave us the capability of being disconnected from him. And when we do something against God, that disconnects us from him. So that fear should be it's a fear that's intertwined with love. And that fear, that's a very healthy fear. That's the fear that we're talking about. In a relationship, you should be always afraid of breaking, of being further from your loved one. What actions are you doing that will bring you close? You're so afraid that something you say or something you do will separate you, that's a fear that's intertwined with love.
C'est quoi le mot qu'ils ont utilisé en hébreu là?
Yira.
Donc on traduit ça par
qui veut dire la crainte.
Yeah, la crainte.
Okay.
So these two it's like a bird. for us to connect to God, you need love and fear, 2 wings that will bring you closer to God. You need those 2 emotions. Now, the Alter Rebbe, right, he said that it's easy, right? We're supposed to be able to access this love and fear. It should be easy, but it doesn't seem easy to us. Not everyone feels that fear. You don't feel God every minute, right? So, again, the Alter Rebbe brings that this fear is innate within us. There's a fear that happens through meditation, through thinking, through meditating on a subject, which creates an emotion, right? Through our 3 intellectual faculties, Chachma, Bina, and Das, and then that should create emotions. But the Alter Rebbe tells us that there is a Moshe within each one of us. Moshe Rabbeinu. It's funny that you spoke about Moshe, that you spoke about Moshe Rabbeinu, but Moshe Rabbeinu, he was the epitome of fear of God. For him, it was easy, right? He was the most humblest man of all, because he had the most healthiest fear of God, and it was easy for him. His spark was given to each and every one of us. There's 2 ways we can see it. We can either connect through someone who's a rabbi, a mentor, that can... Yeah, so...
Comme tu ressens, il y a beaucoup de lumière. Tu ressens cette connexion, c'est ça qui fait que on est ému.
Okay.
Vraiment, in a way, the beautiful thing that I'm learning, the more I learn Chassidus, is that every character in the Torah, we can find it inside of us, whether good or bad. But every character, every person that's written in Torah, we have a little bit of that inside of us, and we can connect and we can learn what we should do or what we shouldn't do. So that Moshe, that little spark of Moshe, is inside of us and can help us get to that fear. So even if it seems very far from us being able to feel that fear of being separated with every action we do, if we're able to dig in, we have that Moshe. And even more, it explains that it's in a faculty. Okay, so let's see. Can you see over here? There's Chachma, Bina. There's the mother and the father. Okay, they represent the mother and the father. Chachma is that spark of wisdom. Bina is when it develops. It's the understanding of that wisdom. And that represents Moshe. That is what will connect that and bring it into action and create an emotion. Okay, just like a mother, father creates children together, so too in the way your brain works. You have your Chachma, Bina, and your Dat is that Moshe Rabbeinu is what will make you create an emotion of fear. So we have it it's innate, it's within us. We all have that capability. Thanks to Moshe Rabbeinu, okay, history happened for us to be able to live today and be able to do what we have to do today. Thanks to Moshe Rabbeinu, we have that capability of creating the emotion of fear by thinking and realizing that God is truly in our life, in this whole world. Every time you walk outside, you look at this beautiful world, you realize that someone is running this world. This should make us realize that there is someone here constantly watching over this world, and this should create that fear. We are capable of reaching it if we use our Chachma Bina and our Dat. Because of Moshe Rabbeinu, who gave that power, and it was given again through the generations. It's interesting how we see that. We explain all these emotions of love, fear, joy, Mesirat Nefesh, Emuna, right? All these things, and it seems very hard. What? Sadness. No, but sadness is not hard to reach. But all these things that seem very hard to reach, right? To have faith, to have love and fear of God, they seem very hard to reach. But then after we understand the work, then the Tanya tells us, really, you have it within you. And you just have to know how to dig it up, how to remove What's blocking? It's all within you. Everything good is within you.
Yeah.
It's all within you.
Le problème,
So-
c'est les habitudes qu'on doit se
La
défaire.
pratique, la pratique.
It's the conscious.
C'est
Also, it's
différent de
being
ce que
not being conscious of it. Once you're conscious
Voilà.
of it, it's already one step closer. Just being aware that you have it within you. You have that fear. You don't even have to work. It's within you already.
C'est tout là-bas.
That's the whole idea of
C'est
Kik.
quoi?
Kikaro avait l'air assez proche à toi. Le Tanya commence avec
So there's two ways. There is a work that you have to work very, very hard to reach to, or there's a second work that you just have to dig up all the treasures that is within you. And the Tanya teaches us that it's all these treasures are within you. You just have to dig it up. You have to find it. You have to be aware that you have them. And this will help you deal with anxiety. Anxiety is having a lack of faith and belief that God is watching over us constantly. Sadness is the lack of or it's again lack of faith, lack of belief, understanding that you have a mission here, that your mission is to bring God into every single part. Whatever is happening to you, whatever people you're surrounded with, you have to bring God and light in your surrounding. When you know this should bring you joy. You know, wow, you have such an important mission. You should be like that driver who was driving Golda Meir. You should be feeling like you're driving God around. Your body is the car, and you're bringing God around into this world. Only you could do that, because only you are able to bring that part in your whatever world you have with the people you meet, with the
The mission of Chabad, also, no?
But no, the mission of Chabad is to educate.
Pour moi, c'est
Is
aussi-
to educate. But
Yeah,
it's
you
really
gotta bring joy and
C'est
light
ça.
and-
but it's really the mission of every single person. Every single person in this world has a mission of bringing God into
Oui,
all
mais
aspects
c'est là-
of their
c'est là,
life.
Dans le Betrabat,
Yeah.
c'est là qu'on
C'est
fait.
exactement ça. Genre, nous, on n'a pas on n'a pas les outils comme.
Voilà.
On n'est pas outillé pour. On l'apprend.
La prise de
on
conscience à
pratique.
travers le Tanya.
Exactement.
And how do you do it? So how do you do it? Is through awakening that love and fear within
Ça
you.
doit être le Tanya Class Group.
Oui.
Yeah. That love and fear within you, by awaking them up, you're giving wings to every action. Remember what we said? That actions that are done without emotions, they're very heavy. Do you remember that story?
Elle a posé une question.
There was the Baal Shem Tov once walked into a synagogue, and he said to the people, "Wow, you have a lot of Torah and mitzvot in the synagogue." So they thought it was a compliment. But what he was saying is that there's a lot of actions, but nothing was done with passion, with emotion. So they're all very heavy,
Ils sont restés ici. Ils ont
and they didn't go up. So in order to bring up all your actions, right? Every action you do is you're
Light.
bringing that life force, that godly light into this world, but you want to give it wings. How do you give it wings? By having love and fear. How do you have love and fear? By knowing there's one option that is working very hard to access that love and fear, right? To meditate and to really think about it until you create that emotion. Or the Alter Rebbe tells us it's within us. You have to dig a little bit inside of you. Inside of you, you have Dat. Dat is that part of Moshe, that spark of Moshe, that can create an emotion of fear, and a fear that's connected to love, that you're so afraid of disconnecting from God, that will lead you to actions, to only doing good actions because you want to constantly be connected to God. So those love and fear is very important when you do your action. It's not enough to do actions without emotions. It's very important to have those two emotions in order to give it wings and make it go high. What did someone ask? What did they ask?
Sur le groupe, je crois qu'il y avait une question.
Oui, il y a
Je
un-
vais rajouter. Can you see it?
No, I'm filming, so I can't see
So
it.
how can we apply that thinking when in a more troubled time in our life? Question from Yael.
So how can we again re-ask?
Oh,
How can
sorry.
we? Sorry, I just
How-
wanna.
How can we apply that thinking when in a more troubled time in our life?
When we're in a troubled time in our life, how can we apply the thinking of
I guess fear and love, no?
fear and love? Is that what you're saying, Yael?
Je vais rajouter des-
Let me see. Can you put it in the chat? Because I didn't really understand. Oh, yes. Okay, she said yes. So I think that should be able to help us during our life is knowing that we're not alone. Knowing that in this challenge, God sent you, right? In the Tanya, it says us that every struggle we have is in order to bring more light into this world. So the struggle, God created us with struggle, with challenges. When we know that this came to us, either we can be, buried by that challenge and broken by that challenge, or we can say, okay, God believes in me. God believes that I can overcome this, so I will overcome this. Of course, it's a very hard emotion. There's a whole process to go through it, but by being goal-oriented, that all our struggles, all our challenges that come to us is in order for us to bring more light into this world, to awaken more love and more fear towards God, and eventually bring in more light into this dark world. Then that should be able to help us fight our challenges. Yael, does this answer your question? I hope this answers your questions. It reminds me something beautiful I read. I'm just trying to remember. Okay, she put a thumbs up. Okay, good. Mm-hmm. But I think I'm just trying to remember what I saw. No, someone. Wait. I'm just trying to remember. Forgot where I saw it. Okay. I don't remember. I wanted to say something, but I forgot. Okay. Da'as. I want you guys to learn to understand a little bit da'as. First of all, we're gonna focus only on the three cognitive sefirot. Yeah, but the ones that are with the brain. Okay, so they're very important. There's chachma. Did everyone understand what chachma is? Chachma represents the father. It's that spark of wisdom. Is when you have just one idea. Okay. Chachma. Then,
l'intuition, c'est ça? L'intuition?
Non, je pense pas que c'est la première idée. C'est le début d'une idée.
C'est un éclair.
Okay. Exactly. It's like a spark of, wow. You know, when you're like, oh my God, I have an idea. But then you need your bina. You need your bina that will develop the idea. The mother, exactly. The mother, right? 9 months, carry the 9 months and develop the baby. Exactly. Then there's that. That is something that's actually very hard to understand. It's knowledge. I hope I'm going to understand. That is the capability of understanding abstract ideas. The idea of fearing God is very abstract. That's why when a child's young, when you talk to them about God, it's going to be more based on punishment and reward. Because they can't understand, a child can't understand abstract. A child can't understand something that's beyond, you know. But with maturity, with bar and bas mitzvah, right? The whole idea of bar and bas mitzvah is when a child is able to start to think abstract. Okay, it's also when his neshama comes more into his body or her body. That's the idea, and that's when they're more responsible to do Torah and mitzvot. So that is the need to focus on an abstract idea of Hashem, and then through that, you are able to create the emotion of fear. Okay, so that is, and this is what Moshe Rabbeinu did. What did Moshe Rabbeinu do? Think about, what did Moshe Rabbeinu do?
He sacrificed himself?
No, he didn't sacrifice himself. He brought the Torah. He brought something super abstract that was up there, and he brought it to the Jewish people. Exactly, he brought it accessible to us only through Moshe Rabbeinu. That is the dot within that. I think I've saw somewhere that it's a faculty that's very hard to use. Not everyone is able to use. It's that super focused. You know, people are all ADD and not focused. That is, you have to be super focused. Take something super abstract and being able to bring it down. It's like the funnel over here. I don't know if you see it, but it's It's literally the, like,
Moi, je
you
crois
see, it's
que
like a funnel.
Dogma, c'est la première idée.
Ouais.
Tiens, j'ai une idée comment je
It's
vais
over
construire
here,
ma
that.
maison.
Ouais.
Bina,
See
c'est
how
le
it's a
détail.
funnel.
Mais that, c'est tu fais le plan de toute la maison.
Ok.
Tu descends cette idée, tu la descends d'une manière.
Tu la rends concrète.
Exactly.
Ok.
And Moshe Rabbeinu was the one who was able to bring down. So that when we connect to our Moshe Rabbeinu, we connect to that part of that, and that's where it's going to create emotion. So someone who has a hard time with certain emotions, they know that they have that capability within them to create an emotion. When you don't feel an emotion, you have a capability of creating that emotions through da'at. Through da'at, you can create the emotion of fear. Did someone ask a question?
Non, oui, elle dit. Est-ce que c'est comme la
Could
loi
we
de
say it's like the
l'attraction?
law of attraction?
Like,
No,
No, I don't.
I don't think so.
No.
No, it's not emotional. It's all in your brain. It's all in your brain, and it's a faculty that's very important, and it's what will create that fear before love. The Tanya says that before having love, you should have fear. And for me, I'd like to bring something more practical. So in relationships,
J'ai le concept, moi
non,
aussi. C'est
mais
un peu plus
quand
dur à
on dit.
assumer.
Et je ne sais pas comment c'est. Yitzhak Yada et Ishto.
yes, no, Adam. Oh, sorry,
Yada et Ishto.
Adam Yada et Ishto. When Adam was first with his wife,
Yeah.
it says Adam knew his wife Yada.
Yada.
Because it's a full connection. They had finally a full physical connection. That's when he knew her. The Torah uses the word knowledge. That is that. Exactly. Thank you for bringing this example. Attraction, is that what you meant? Okay, so maybe.
Non, elle parle de la loi de l'attraction, c'est-à-dire que tu manifestes dans ta vie des choses que tu visualises. Normalement, c'est ça la loi de l'attraction.
I don't think that it is, but it's really the complete union of two things, okay? Like it says Adam knew his wife is when they were completely united, and then he knew her. So too in learning something, okay?
Yeah.
You have to be completely one with that knowledge in order to be able
Quand tu deviens master de quelque chose,
master completely in order to create an emotion.
C'est
Non, mais
intérieur, comme
tu
c'est carrément
l'as intériorisé complètement.
Like for the more,
c'est that.
Oui.
yeah. So that is that, and that is very important for the emotion of fear. Okay, and the emotion of fear, the feeling of fear is to be able constantly to be one with that knowledge of God being in your presence and not wanting to be disconnected from Him.
Yeah.
Thank you for that example. It actually writes it in the Tanya, that example of Adam and Chava. So Emunah,
Okay,
something,
est-ce que
yeah.
je peux remettre ça un peu en français là parce
Oui,
que dans ma
oui,
tête,
ça.
Oui.
Quand à propos de Adam a connu sa femme, ce que vous dites, c'est que ils ont eu avant.
L'intimité.
Ils étaient intimes et après la Torah elle dit et Adam il a connu sa femme. He knew
Une fois
Yada.
qu'il a fusionné avec elle,
Si tu veux,
physiquement,
Chokhmah,
Ça-
c'est déjà, il a la première idée, Bina, il a travail. Et Dat, c'est la.
Alors cette union, c'est de cette union on peut comprendre dans notre
Donc l'union physique est l'aboutissement d'une union spirituelle et cognitive.
non, so cognitive, on utilise cet exemple pour comprendre l'union qu'on doit avoir dans notre intellect pour pouvoir créer une émotion. Ça doit être complètement un avec nous. So it's just to explain.
Par exemple, le cours de Tanya, que ça devient une part de toi complètement. Ça devient un, tu deviens un avec cette idée. Alors c'est ça, c'est Dat. Comme l'intimité.
Yeah.
Ok. Mais dans les mariages de nos jours,
On parle
on parle des mariages légaux, on parle voilà,
de
c'est ça.
l'idéal jusqu'au bout.
oui, mais je veux dire, quand l'union physique intervient,
Ok,
c'est souvent
alors il y a une différence.
bien, quand même,
Attends, je veux entendre.
bien
Qu'est-ce que
avant que l'union que les
Tout
deux
à fait.
personnes se connaissent
Se
vraiment
connaissent.
bien.
Rabbi Manis Friedman il dit il y a une différence entre la sexualité et l'intimité.
Absolument. Bah,
L'intimité, c'est
la
vraiment
fusion,
c'est la fusion totale de l'âme.
connexion
Exactement.
totale, néchamatique. Connexion néchamatique.
Ok, mais quand on dit que Adam connut sa femme, et juste après, on a et il engendra. Donc c'est comme.
Il engendra.
Mais
Oui,
il
ils ont eu-
engendra Adam.
C'est
il
doesn't
engendra-
matter. Ça,
Caïn et Abel.
Oui. C'est comme
Et-
le résultat, les enfants.
Ils sont venus
résultat
tout de
de
suite.
cette-
Mhm.
yeah.
Et on sait bien que biologiquement, il faut que.
Oui.
Bah, c'est fait, ils ont
Oui, oui.
consommé, oui.
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 Ils ont
Oui.
consommé.
Alors
L'intimité, on parle de la
L'intimité, c'est ça, la
relation
consommation.
sexuelle. Mais
Je crois qu'il y a besoin d'un
No. No. Okay. Okay, we're just.
Ah. J'ai encore quelques souvenirs de mon mariage.
Oui.
Parce que là, tu m'as dit.
Attends, je suis pas sûre que ce que tu poses. Ok. On parle de Adam et Chava après de comparer d'autres relations. Je pense pas que on n'est pas au niveau de Adam et Chava, ils étaient un. C'est l'idée d'être un, âme et corps, pas juste corps. Âme et corps qui va arriver à une création d'un enfant, ok? So that idea is brought.
That you brought me. Oh, j'ai eu un éclair, j'ai eu un.
Yeah.
Ça veut dire que quelqu'un qui n'a pas fusionné âme et corps, Hachem, il donne pas d'enfant, genre?
Non,
Ça veut rien
ça
dire.
peut arriver.
Bien
Non,
sûr, bien sûr, il y a des enfants qui arrivent. Il y a des
je veux dire, what
Non, mais
about?
tu sais, les gens qui n'arrivent pas à avoir d'enfants. est-ce que
No,
c'est
it
parce
has
qu'ils
nothing to do
connectent
with that.
pas
No.
de niveau, ça a
No,
rien à voir.
no,
Ok,
no,
sorry for that.
But my point is, why are we talking about intimacy? Is the idea of the da'at is the spiritual intimacy of a
I
concept,
love that.
of a concept,
I'm in love
of
with
an
that.
abstract concept, and bringing it into an emotion. It's bringing an abstract concept that is not physical, right? In a way, it's kind of explaining how you bring God into your world.
Yeah.
It's bringing the concept of God into your world.
Clairement.
It's by completely being one with that concept of God, because it's not natural. Just know it is not natural for someone to be one with God, to understand God, and to be constantly thinking about God, and to constantly have fear. It's not natural. God created a world where we don't see Him. God created a world where
So what makes it
physical
happen?
and spiritual
The more
does
you
not
talk
go
about it,
together.
c'est ça?
The more you
The more you
study,
talk,
the talk.
Non, parce que moi, sorry, je vais prendre 2 secondes. Je réfléchis pourquoi moi j'ai cette connexion naturelle avec Hachem. Bon, parce que mon père est né, ma mère.
So that's
Pourquoi mes enfants l'ont pas? Parce que j'en
T'as une
parle.
neshama.
Alors,
no.
là,
So
je
also, elle a
sais
une
pas.
éducation. Non,
Je
moi je
comprends.
pense. First of
C'est
all,
pour ça que je sais pas si c'est vraiment
No.
l'éducation qui joue un rôle là-dedans.
It is
Enfin,
education.
Mes enfants, ils vont pas avoir cette relation que j'ai avec Hachem parce qu'ils m'ont pas entendu leur marteler la relation.
so first of all,
You know
there's
what I
two
mean?
things. There's two things. You'll see people that weren't educated and that have a
Yeah.
connection to God. So
At
because
all?
it's in it that weren't educated at all, and
At
will
all? Really?
search for it. We'll
Yeah.
search for it constantly. I've met so many people
Wow.
who were not raised with God in their life, and they search for it because I mean, Abraham started like that. His parents were idol worshiper, and he searched.
Okay.
He's like, wait, no, this doesn't make sense,
Non,
you
il a
know?
commencé à 3 ans, il a
So-
découvert ça
So
avec-
it's not a natural thing to have this connection to God. It should be natural by Jewish people because we're passed from Abraham.
It's true.
We're passed from generation to generation. What happens? It can be covered up. It can be covered up through like your boys weren't educated, so it's covered up, but it's within them. It's in there somewhere, sleeping, but it's covered up because they never spoke about it. They're in a society that does not want God. Society does not talk about God. Does not welcome God.
They talk about a power.
Something, but not in your
Rien, mais ouais,
not in
la
your
vie,
daily. We're talking about in
yeah.
your daily life, in every single
Absolutely,
detail,
it's true.
every single detail of your life. When I just saying that gives me the chills because you forget all the time. I've finished a class and then I'm running and I'm upset
Ouais,
about
non,
something
mais
and I'm
ça
like,
va pas dans ton cas, je veux dire, like, comment ta vie, elle
So,
est reliée.
ma
You
ma
have
vie est
that
reliée,
feeling,
but
faut que tu
even
fasses
imagine-toi,
attention.
even with me
vrai.
having a religious life, I
Yeah.
don't think about God constantly. And just know some people who look religious could not even be connected to God because it's which
A
God
work,
are you
a
connected?
work.
It's a work. It's not enough
C'est un
to be
travail.
dressed.
It's very
And-
intimate.
Hein?
Parce que moi, si
C'est
j'avais
un travail.
une tenue
Ça aide.
qui me rappellerait
Ça aide.
pourquoi je suis habillée comme ça.
But you know what happens? You know what the Tanya tells you when you do things out of habit?
You get used.
You get used. Anything that is done over and over after that, you completely lose that excitement because you do it every day.
I understand. That point I
So-
Mais la chassidoute, elle peut te maintenir ce feu-là. Si tu dis la chassidoute, tu dis la
So
chassidoute,
that
ça te
is
maintient.
that
Ça te
spark of
maintient
Moshe
ce feu.
Rabbeinu that's able to take something abstract and bring it into emotions, into this world. That, remember, that is a faculty that is very important. I feel like today is very more important because we're so distracted with computers and social media and everything that we are not able to use that faculty a lot. But that's a faculty that will create that emotion of fear inside our life, that fear of being disconnected to God, that fear of remembering that there's somebody watching you. You're driving somebody very important in the back of your car, that fear of feeling small.
Watching you in a good way, that il
Yes.
t'accompagne. Tu comprends pas?
Yes.
Il te watch pour voir si tu vas pécher ou pas pécher, mais
Yeah.
plus comme il t'accompagne.
Yes, go ahead, open queue. Go ahead, Denisa. I want to hear.
Ah oui,
I just wanna-
me suivre sur
I'm trying to find my way in my book. Das and that.
It's the same thing. Sorry, I said das. It's a different way of pronouncing.
Okay.
But that,
Okay. Oh, okay.
how do you have it written in your book?
BA''AS.
Yeah, so that's the like Ashkenaz version of saying it, but the Sephardi way is the sav is da'at. So we don't,
Okay.
but it's the same
Okay,
thing.
thank you.
Okay?
Now at least I know I'm looking at the right thing.
Okay. To finish, I just thought saw something beautiful. Who knows what emunah is?
Yeah, me?
What is
La foi avec la
C'est lui, c'est lui,
confiance
Manu?
et la
So tu vas écouter quelque chose de magnifique. Emunah is that faith in God, that God is in control. Emun comes from the word amun, which means developing a craft.
Attends, sorry.
Emunah,
Yes.
you know what emunah is?
Yes.
Emunah is that faith, la foi, right? Faith.
Oui, F-O-I, oui.
The Hebrew word emunah has aleph mem nun,
Oui.
which means developing a craft.
C'est quoi?
Developing a craft is when you work on some like an arts and craft, an art.
Craft,
C'est un travail manuel, ouais. Mais c'est quelque chose plus développé. Ça peut être, tu sais, les gens qui travaillent à faire des bols en clay. So any crafts.
Okay.
sont rangés derrière lui.
To have emunah, you need to develop. It's a work. It's a work in progress. You can't just expect to have faith in God. It's a work. It's a constant work. It's like developing
Through challenges and
through
obstacles
thinking,
and
through learning, through connecting, through challenges. But if you have a challenges and you're not searching,
But you have to face them, then you should understand
through
that.
facing them and believing that it comes from God. So emunah comes the word developing a craft, because to have emunah in Hashem is a work. It's not natural. You're constantly working on it. It's like working on an arts and craft, on a piece of work. So to emunah is you're constantly working on it to make it, to develop it in order to. So this is
Parce que Marie est en travaux ici.
okay. Bye, Marie.
Bye bye, Marie. Ouais.
So
So
what was I saying? So yeah, so
is a
emunah,
craft you have to
it's
develop, you have to-
no. So it's interesting to think that the root word comes from developing a craft. In Hebrew, they
But also training.
training. So
Vitamin.
yeah, so
Vitamin.
same thing, training.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why I believe that training, anyone who works out, is very related to inside work. When you work,
Le mindset, you
thank you, Yael.
tu te
Yes.
forces à te-
So this is how do you work on that emunah, on that fear, on that constant faith in Hashem, is through the faculty of da'at, which is taking your chachma and bina, your father and your mother, and really hyper-focusing to become one with a certain abstract concept of whatever of Hashem, of whatever you're learning. That's how you're able to create that that emunah.
La fin du cours.
Ah, pardon. And how you do that? You take your chokhmah and your bina.
Chachma and Bina is you take that first spark that comes, you develop it, you think about it, okay? You develop it, let let it, sink in exactly, and then really hyper focus to bring it into, to be one with it. It's like
Mais ça, c'est dans n'importe quel domaine ou on
any
parle de...
domaine. That's how your brain works in general. But for emunah, for faith, for fear of God,
C'est cultiver
dans le domaine.
et la rendre,
spirituelle, bien sûr.
cultiver une idée et devenir un avec l'idée. Okay?
La posséder jusqu'à ce qu'elle...
Yes, it is through meditation. But what does meditation mean? Because a lot of people,
We're gonna know Thursday.
it's a different kind of
Oh no, it's
meditation.
not
I don't know if we'll see. She has.
It's like Hidbodedut kind of.
I don't know if it's that one,
Okay.
but the meditation of Chassidut
Nice.
is really thinking of a concept until it becomes one with you. Meditation through Chassidut is taking a concept and thinking about it so deeply until you can make it one with you.
Ben, là, il y a elle, c'est la loi de l'attraction, parce que tu commences
C'est
par
ça, c'est
manifester,
pour ça,
manifester until you
Bien
got
sûr.
it. Here, yes. Here,
So
yes.
maybe yes, I don't know what's la loi
Ouais.
d'attraction.
Ici, quand on parle de méditation, c'est vrai.
Adam,
So,
Ouais.
I'm gonna stop the-
C'était étape par étape.